But more importantly than that, right? Like beyond the money and beyond the kind of like relationships, it's the impact piece. And I think as healthcare professionals, especially as doctors, that's the part that's like, okay, yes, like this is going to be my legacy. And now through media work, it's like you can expand so much beyond your local community, which is still important, right? But like so much more than beyond that one-to-one patient interaction. And now you can touch the lives of millions of people.
Welcome to the Master the Media podcast. I'm your host, Amy Gorin, and I'm here today with a very special guest, Simran Malhotra. She is our physician advisor for Master the Media, and she's a Master the Media student. Welcome, Simran.
Thanks for having me, Amy. I'm so excited that we finally were able to get this on the schedule for both of us.
Me too. Simran and I were chatting before we started recording, and gosh, we have so much exciting stuff to talk about today. Before we dive in, I just want to give a quick intro of all like this bio is like so impressive, and she is our first media physician on the podcast, so yay. Dr. Simran is a triple board certified physician in internal medicine, hospice and palliative care, and lifestyle medicine, and she's a certified health and wellness coach. She was a top doc recognized by Baltimore Magazine for 3 consecutive years. Oh my goodness. And like, there's so much here. Most recently, she was inducted as a fellow of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And I'm going to stop there because I want you to tell us who you are, because I could just keep on reading this impressive bio, but I think listeners should hear it from you. Tell us about
Oh my
yourself and
gosh.
your story.
Where do I even start? Okay. So I guess my most important job is I'm a mom. I have two kids. Funny enough, I met my husband, now husband, at the hospital 12, 13 years ago, and we are both Canadian, but we met in Maryland,
I always
and
forget that
now we
about you.
have,
Like,
right.
literally, every time you say it, I'm like, oh, yeah, she's Canadian.
Right. And now we have two American-born children with Canadian parts. And so that's probably the most important thing. Just like you, I have a cat and dog and passionate really about my family. And I think how I got to this place in my career is really because that is the foundational like value in my life that is the most important. So, and I think, similar to so many of the conversations we've had is like, how do you design a career on your terms to make it fit into your life and not make your life fit into your career, which is, I think, what unfortunately a lot of women today try to do. And then that leads to major burnout and what we were just talking about, people, women, especially getting sick.
Oh yeah,
So
and just for yeah, like our pre-podcast recording conversation was just like, okay, there's never a perfect time for anything. Life is messy. You're like, you can only have a perfect house if you don't have any kids or pets or anyone living in your house, or if you're dead. So those are our thoughts.
I love I love that you added the last one in there because it's like kind of the perfect segue into, well, who am I professionally? So I did my training in internal medicine, my residency training, and then I went on to do my specialty training in hospice and palliative care. So I really took care of seriously ill patients, mostly at the end of life for pretty much a decade for a big healthcare system here in the DMV. And then about 6 years ago, or 5 years ago, got board certified in, as you mentioned, lifestyle medicine. And I always like to say I found lifestyle medicine because I became the patient myself. So it was the answer that I was looking for when I was told that I have the BRCA1 genetic mutation. And I don't know how much you want me to go into this
Just
part of
dive
my
in. Like, we
story.
have all the time in the world.
Okay, so just around the time where I started working in palliative care, so here about 11 years ago, so I was 26, and I knew that I had very strong family history of cancer. My mom's a two-time breast cancer survivor. She was first diagnosed at 33. I was 13 years old. And then again at 49, and we have 10 women on her side of the family who have had either breast or ovarian cancer. And so when I was a resident, someone in our family got diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and just all these red flags were going off. And so my mom decided to get genetic testing again. And long story short, I ended up finding out, just like her, that I have the BRCA1 genetic mutation. It is a gene that we all have, the BRCA1 and 2 gene, and when it works, it actually protects you from cancer. But when it's mutated, it radically increases your lifetime risk of cancer. So basically, based on my family history and that genetic mutation at 26, I was told I have an 87% lifetime risk of getting breast cancer and a 60% lifetime risk of getting ovarian cancer, and an increased risk of a few other cancers. And then I had to basically go into the hospital the next day to take care of my young patients who were dying from cancer. And so that was a lot. That was a heck of a lot. And, the medical team at the time was essentially like, you need to get preventative surgeries. And of course, based on the science, yes, that's what made most sense. But also, I was 26 and getting preventative surgeries at the time didn't make sense. I was still in training. I wasn't married yet. I didn't have my kids yet. All the things. And so essentially, they gave me this timeline like, your mom was 33 at diagnosis. And so you need to have preventative surgeries by the time you're 33. And so that set me down this path over the next 7 years to have my kid, to get married, finish training, have my kids 19 months apart.
And you had
And
met your
then
husband at this point?
luckily I did. And that's actually why I decided to get tested, because we had just gotten engaged, and this was something that I felt like he deserved to know before we actually got married, because if, it's a long journey, and a lot that comes with it. And, the one thing though that I kept asking my team at that time was, look, I'm a palliative care doctor in training, and I'm doing my training at Hopkins, where, that's where the youngest people go. And so my average patients were very, very young in hospice, and a lot of them had this mutation, and taking care of them was, I'm not even sure that there's words to describe the anxiety and the fear and the paralysis I had on some days, because it essentially felt like looking into the mirror, right? Like it was like a reflection of my future almost. Um, and so the same question, the question that kept coming up with like different members of the medical team is, what can I do to reduce my own risk of cancer? And I kept getting the same answer. Well, you have a genetic mutation, you have a strong family history, there's nothing you can do. Like, there's nothing you can do. And probably one of the singular most powerful beliefs in my life is that I believe is that there's always something you can do. And that's kind of what sent me down this rabbit hole of doing my own research and finding lifestyle medicine and learning about, all the science that there is behind nutrition. And of course, because you're a dietitian, but in medical school, in all of medical school, we get maybe 19 hours of nutrition education. And that is mostly like biochemistry. It's not even like real world practical nutrition guidance. And so it's so funny because over the last 10 years, I learned everything about mindset and lifestyle as medicine that I thought I was going to learn in medical school, or I should have learned in medical school, but I learned nothing about it in medical school. So- or in or in residency. So anyways, I've been on this crazy journey the last 10 years. And so fast forward to 2020, and September of 2020, at the height of the pandemic. So I was working as a palliative care physician. My husband's a critical care physician. We had two kids. One was 19 months old and one was almost 3. All our families in Canada. And I ended up having my risk reducing surgeries. So I had a bilateral mastectomy with aesthetic flat closure and a total hysterectomy with salpingo oophorectomy. So basically, I put myself into surgical menopause at
That's a
32.
that's a lot. A
It
lot.
was a lot. My husband literally, like, we were talking about this the other day. He literally dropped me off on the curb and at 5 a.m. and I went in and had surgery all by myself. And it was funny story. Like afterwards, I saw a counselor, a therapist, whatever, and she heard everything I said, because essentially, like, every single patient I had touched or seen that year died, because we mostly got recruited to seeing all the COVID patients. And And then I told her about what I went through, like myself as a patient, and I ended up having a major complication from surgery and had to have go to the trauma OR the next morning. And my husband didn't like it. It was just like a lot. And I was telling her this whole story, and she just looked at me at the end, and she was like, "I'm not sure how to help you. I'm not sure how to help." Literally, like that's what she said. And I was just like, okay, well then. She's like, I think you need like some really special, like upgraded sort of counselor therapist to like help you, trauma informed therapist to go help you process what you just went through. And luckily for me, like I've been in the world of Tony Robbins and, have done a lot of mindset coaching and understanding how all of that impacts our ability to, you know, um, really create meanings around the circumstances of our lives and create empowering stories versus disempowering stories and all of that. So I was actually in a good place mentally. But I think what ended up happening was I naturally, over the last 10 years, started sharing my story online, because I didn't know of a lot of young South Asian women who were going through what I was going through with this BRCA mutation. And, of course, there was like the family taboo where my extended family didn't really want to talk about this. And a lot of them were kind of like, why are you doing this? Like, you're healthy. Why are you removing body parts? Like, all of that. And so I kind of felt isolated. And so I started sharing my story online on social media and naturally started creating a community and all this stuff. And then, of course, the lifestyle medicine stuff and the Tony Robbins stuff. And I just naturally started sharing mindset tips and lifestyle medicine tips and tricks. And then fast forward to, I guess, 2020, and no, 2024 when I met you, shortly before
Oh
I
my
met
gosh, we've known each
you.
other for over 2 years.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
So obviously there's a lot more that happens, but I'm gonna like fast forward to 2024, beginning of 2024. And at this point, I've like kind of created this platform and I'm sharing all this knowledge, and I'm also sharing brands that I love naturally. And a brand reaches out to me. And at this point, I think the other important thing to point out is that after the pandemic, we my hospital system had gone productivity based, even for palliative care, and so now I was practicing productivity based end of life care. And I'm the kind of person who, maybe we all should be in healthcare, where I just could not compromise on the quality of care that I was providing my patients and my families, and that was really hurting my productivity. And no matter how hard I tried, and even documenting late into the night, it was really having a major impact on my ability to do what, the business side of medicine expected me to do. And so I hit like really bad burnout and really, really bad moral injury. And this is obviously stacked on top of, 2 years of working as a palliative care doctor in the pandemic and going through surgery and healing and being a mom to two young kids and not having family around and like all the things, right? And so I had a brand reach out, okay? And this is the beginning of January of 2024-ish. And I was like, whoa, what is this? Like they want to pay me to like talk about, like to talk about a product that I absolutely love and a product I've been using since 2019. And I bring it to my doctor husband and he was like, this is cool. I don't really know what to make of it, but like, yeah, we looked at the contract and neither one of us knew what to do with this information. But we were like, okay, cool. It's an opportunity. Let's just do it. So then I went ahead and did it, and there was a whole list of deliverables, like a whole page of deliverables. And as the universe would had it, like a couple of weeks later, after I signed that contract, I heard you on a podcast, not your podcast, but a podcast. And I was like, oh my God, she's literally talking about everything that I had questions about like 2 weeks ago before signing this contract. And oh my God, like, is she for real? Although you at that point you were like, I was like, she's an RD, maybe it's different. I'm an MD, all of that. But I was like, you know what? A skill is a skill, whether
And you
you're an
were one
RD
of
and
our
MD,
first
right?
physicians that we worked with.
So, right. So then I was like, let me just do this. And I'm also a believer that if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And I think in medicine that happens a lot, especially with physicians, where we're on this like really steep growth trajectory from like, pre-med to med to residency to fellowship to becoming an attending, and we're just growing, growing, growing. And then all of a sudden, once we kind of get settled in our career, we plateau big time. And now we usually, especially in today's landscape with medicine, we don't have time to do all of the learning and, all the things that we were doing at one point in our career. And so when you stop growing, now that's where like burnout happens, and that's where dissatisfaction and frustration and all the things come in. And so I saw Master the Media as a way to grow because I was like at the height of my burnout, and I was like, okay, this is a skill set. It's very interesting. And that's kind of how I stepped into your world. Whoa, that was like a really long story.
But I love it. I like I have so many thoughts, and like I feel like my tangential thought is like, the whole, I don't know, it's been on my mind a lot lately about, I think it's been showing up in my feed on Instagram, but it's like if we're not learning something new, then our brain just stops like doing its, it doesn't reach its, max potential. And so we have all of these incredible, I'll say women, but we have some men too, in Master the Media. And it's like sometimes I'm intimidated. I'm like, you're a triple board certified physician, you're a quadruple board certified physician. I'm a, dietitian. And it's like we're all in this room together. But it's, what I love about the Master the Media community is we all have, it's like I'm teaching you guys, but I also feel like I'm just learning. I'm always learning about the questions that you guys ask, and they're related to our lifestyle and medicine, right? And I'm always like, oh, I didn't know that this, there's this risk factor, and that's related to this horrible thing that we can prevent. And it's like I just feel like, anyway, that's my tangent.
Well,
We're
it's
always
funny.
learning.
It's funny you say that. And we talk a lot about this in the community, right? Like our credentials are absolutely important and they are absolutely powerful. However, the other piece of it that we often, I feel, don't give enough credit for is our clinical expertise, right? Like our experience, not just like the credential. It's the experience that comes with it. And I remember like a few years ago, even before like I had met you, I had the opportunity to through a friend be featured in a big Health Digest article on the top regrets of the dying. This was like one of my first media features, like in 20, it was shortly after the pandemic. So I think it was 2022. And it just happened smack dab in the middle of the week when we were, of course, moving, right? And the editor had reached out and she was like, I need this by Friday. And at that time, I didn't know this world. Like, I didn't understand, like, sometimes the turnarounds are so
Like a
fast.
deadline is fast.
And I was like,
2 days
look,
is a long time, actually.
right. I was like, look, look, we're moving in the next like tomorrow morning, basically. I was like, can I get this to you by Monday? And it was like a Wednesday. And she was like, I really need this like by tonight, right? And or whatever. It was tomorrow because her deadline was Friday. So she gave me this tight turnaround. So I remember putting my son to bed, and he was like a year and a half or something. And I was still sitting in his rocking chair and I got my laptop out and I was like, fine, this is like a topic that I'm so, so passionate about. Like, let me just bang them out real quick. And I think maybe it took me 20 minutes to answer her 5 questions or whatever it was. And then the article went live next week and it went viral, like sensationally viral. Like it was trending on MSN, on Yahoo. Like there was news like outlets in Europe picking it up and like reposting it, and then they wanted to do a follow-up interview, and like I think it had over 2 million, 2.5 million views or something like that. And to me, I was just like, like it was nothing. Like it was nothing. And then a little while later, I was like having a coaching session with my business coach, and she was like, Simran, it was not nothing. Like that was your 15 years of experience, right? Like beyond the credential, it was your life experience, your clinical experience. And I think that is honestly what also brings so much power to this community is our combined years of experience is so mind-blowing. And then you look at like, we have RDs and you have MDs and you have psychologists and you have coaches and you have just like so many different people with all this like life and professional experience. And I know that's been a big thing for me because it's like proximity is power, right? So yes, there's growth, but then there's also like inspiration to see, someone else in the community doing what they're doing and being like, oh my God, that's genius. Like I could totally do that too, and I will do that. And honestly, that's kind of what has translated for me over the last like 18 months is like I'm in the process of like working on partnerships that honestly didn't think that I would be doing, right? Like
I love
it's
that.
so it's I think proximity is power,
Yeah.
right? Like it's
Give us
not what you know, it's who you know.
an example.
Okay, so in my first 6 months of the program, before I came on today, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to talk about? Like, there's so many
Like
things
we would
happening.
ever have a hard
Um,
time talking. But
I
yeah.
know, I know, I know. But in the sense, like, there's so much happening right now. It's like, where do I even start? So, okay, so one thing that I'm working on, which is really fun, is, and this came out of seeing someone else in the group doing it.
Within Master the Media. Yeah.
Yeah, in the master media group community. And so in my first 6 months in the program, I had a few really fun opportunities that were shared in the group that I put my name in the hat for, and I was like super excited to get. And one of them was to do a focus group with Hodo Tofu, which I only found out later that they do the sofritas for Chipotle, which made me love them even more.
Yeah.
But so then I ended up staying in contact with the PR agent who represented them. And this all of this will go to speak to the power of networking, right? And like who you meet through this community and through your network. But I met with the PR agent who then like, of course I shared my beautiful media kit that you helped me create, and I shared it with her and she was like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I would love to introduce you to this locally owned Greek olive oil company who is in Virginia, and they're not too far from where you are. And, I think you would really resonate with their mission and their brand and the products and everything." So I was like, great. And she connected me with them, and then they sent me like some of their products, and then I tried them out. And long story short, over the past, I would say year and a half, I've had like an ongoing relationship with them. I've taken my kids and my husband out to their showroom, and we've done olive oil tastings and learned all about like the olive oil industry, which is blew my mind. But their products are like exceptionally amazing with like they have like medicinal level olive oils, right? And so really just amazing products. And now I just last week finished wrapping up a conversation and mapping out our partnerships for this year. So I'm going to be doing 3 events. They have in their showroom, they have an event space with a cooking kitchen. So I'm going to
So
be
cool.
doing like 3 hands-on lifestyle medicine slash plant-based cooking experiences um, that are going to be paid partnerships. And that is not something in 2024 when I jumped into this thinking that's something that I was going to do, but it was inspired by hearing what other people in the community are doing, but also that connection was made through another opportunity I got in the group. So it's kind of just like this constant and never ending like wheel of like opportunity. It's just amazing, you know? So-
I love that on like so many levels. And it's crazy because like I mean obviously I don't know what you quoted them for the price, but when we're talking about what to charge within Master the Media, and it goes back to what you said a few minutes ago of it's not because people who who are coming fresh off the boat and they're like, well, you know, I was once offered like $100 or even $500 for an Instagram post. And it's, we gently say like, well, I mean, that is a starting point, or it could be 5,000. And the wide eyed look is always, but it's not your time. it's not like the time that you're recording on it. It's all the years, those decades of learning that you put into getting to that point.
And it's all the time you're buying back. So let me explain how I look at this. Because when I first, so let's first, oh my God, so many thoughts.
I know.
Okay. So when I first joined Master the Media, that brand that I talked about, who gave me the page of deliverables, uh,
And like when you say page of deliverables, like can
I should
we
have pulled it up.
explain,
Okay.
or
So
just like
like,
I think people don't even know what we're talking about. So
sure. Okay. So they wanted like video, like Instagram Reels, like monthly. They wanted like 4 to 5 Instagram story frames. They wanted a 30-minute Q&A. They wanted I actually did like a professional shoot with their production company over Zoom, and they literally had like an hour of footage which they were going to use for whitelisting, which I didn't know what whitelisting was.
advertising.
Right. They were going to chop all that up and use it for advertising, but I didn't like they had all these words in the contract that I didn't know. And why would I? Like this is not something, like I said, not a skill set, just like lifestyle medicine, good bedside manner, and financial literacy, all skills that most doctors are not taught, but should be taught. Same thing with like media and branding and all of that. And so anyway, so they quoted me like $800 a month for this, which, at some point in my career, honestly would have done it for free because I was like, it's that's just what doctors do. Like we have the biggest hearts in the world, and we constantly give until we completely burn out, right? Like, traditionally speaking, like in the hospital system, like you're expected to give talks and you're expected to do grand rounds, and you're expected to do all these things that are unpaid, and there's no concept of like your intellectual property. Like that's all very foreign to most physicians, right? And so to me, $800 a month was like, huh, that's pretty cool. Like, I'll take it, right? But of course, all these things that they were asking me was going to take time and effort and all the stuff. And of course, at that point, I was very early in the journey. And so there was a big learning curve too, like understanding how to do all these things and putting it all together. And so you don't account for that time typically. You're just thinking about the time it's taking you to record the video. But as I've learned from you, it's like, no, you should be taking into account all the time before that, the research you're doing, the prep you're doing, like
The talking to the
recording,
brand and
the editing, the talking, like all of that. And like that was mind blowing to me because, like, again, when you're doing something at the hospital, you're just paid for that little bit of time you're with the patient. You're not really paid for everything before and after. Now things have changed a little bit with time-based billing, but like, for the most part, doctors aren't compensated like that. And so, like consultants, I guess, so they don't think like that. And so this was all very new to me. But anyways, fast forward a year by the end of like my by the end of that year. So I had started, I think, in February of 24. By the end of that year, I think this was like a 4 month partnership or something. And by the end of the year, I was able to they wanted to work together again. I was able to renegotiate a new contract with them for 4 months. And this time I was able to renegotiate not only the rate, but the deliverables from like a page of everything I just told you down to literally like one video a month. And when I say like one Instagram or Facebook video a month, it's like less than 60 seconds with like a 2 to 3 story Instagram frame for 3 times the value of what I was originally quoted. So for like $2,400 a month for 4 months now, I went from like them asking me for 8 things down to one thing.
so that's like
Um,
a $7,000+ partnership that you were able to negotiate for a lot less work too.
Correct. Because now this time when they sent me the contract, I was able to understand everything. And of course, I had you to like help me understand the things that I didn't now understand, and make sure I asked the right questions to not just make sure that I'm, protecting my credentials and my expertise, but also my time, right? All of it. And so, that was really mind-blowing to me. Of course, during my initial 6 months in the program, right, I had all these media features, I had a few fun opportunities with brands, and all of that I felt like gave me confidence and momentum. But at the same time, it sometimes feels scary to go to a brand with these big numbers and ask for, $3,500 for a blog post, right? Like that feels really scary. But I feel like as you put one foot in front of the other and slowly warm up to the idea that this is possible for you, it gives you that confidence. And so just in December, I wrapped up a really fun opportunity with a company that I really like, which was literally came in cold through a TikTok DM, right? Like they wanted to share something that I shared about their product, and then I did what you taught me, right? Like, well, actually, I'm a triple board certified physician, media trained, and XYZ. I'd love to get on a call, and so I did, and I hit it off with a marketing director, and I ended up writing a 700-page blog post for them, which took me a few hours. With a round of revisions, but I charged them $3,500 for that. And that was another light bulb moment. Like before that year with Master of the Media, like I never would have ever in my life considered that kind of number for a blog post that honestly, like I said, at some point in my career would have charged for free. And I think, or I would not have charged anything for it. And I think that was one of the two biggest takeaways from that were number one, like we are, whether you're an RD, MD, psychologist, whatever you are, like we are the Michael Jordans of medicine, right? Like Michael Jordan is retired, but Nike and all the other people he endorses still pay him millions and millions of dollars. Why? Because he's Michael Jordan, because of his expertise, right? And his experience with basketball and being the best. And so we're no different. It's just that we're the Michael Jordans of medicine. We've just never been made to feel like that. And that's the other thing that happened for me when I left, that mostly doing clinical in a hospital and stepped out into this world, like the level of appreciation and the level of like, wow, what did you say your background is? Like, I've never experienced that in my life. Like, that was in and of itself, like, so satisfying to like the soul because like I think as healthcare professionals we grind so hard and we miss so many big milestones and magic moments in our lives with our families and our friends because of training and because of the sacrifice that we decided to put in to dedicate our lives to other people and the world. And sometimes in the business of medicine you really don't feel appreciated. I know I didn't for the longest time. And so now to be working on this side with brands and with media and like to get that level of appreciation sometimes makes me choke up. Like I'm just like, wow, like, yeah, I am freaking awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, you are.
Uh,
And it's like,
um,
it's like that $3,500, like, let's be clear, it's not just for you writing that content, it's for them being able to put your name as the author because that is so freaking impressive. You are a triple board certified doctor who wrote an article and they get to say, hey, we're working with Simran. And that's part of what they're paying for.
Right. And to my point that I was going to make originally when I started this tangent is that it's not just about the money you're charging, especially as like a healthcare professional. It's how much time is it taking you to do that versus, that $3,500. Think about the hourly rate, right? Like how long it took me to write that post, how much my hourly rate is versus my hourly rate in a hospital. Like that $3,500 is like a biweekly pay for me, which, at that time I was working part-time. So it was like 20 hours a week, but really 20 hours a week is not really 20 hours a week. It's actually like 30, 25, 26 hours because there's so much that, like I said, we don't get paid for that we do in healthcare. And so it's it's not just about what you're charging for that one deliverable. It's you're buying back a lot of time, and that time is so precious. And I only now, on this side of things is like it, there's it would be really like things would have to get really twisted in my life for me to have to go back to doing what I was doing before. Because one, like my physical health has gotten better. Like I had chronic back pain for 10 years and I couldn't understand why I was in pain. I did all the things, I was exercising. And that's coming from someone who literally was like lifestyle medicine preaching, like doing all the things that I was telling everyone to do. I was doing those. Like I was eating clean, I was exercising, I was doing all the things, but I had chronic back pain and I couldn't understand why. And I did all the other things too, like physical therapy and acupuncture and massage. And at some point, like I was getting weekly massage, and not because like I could afford it, but because I couldn't function, right? Like I had two little kids, and I had to, go to the hospital to do this job. And it was only when in April of 2024 I gave my resignation, my pain the following week literally went down by 75%. And July 31st, 2024 was the last time that I had like debilitating back pain that required me to take pain medicine and, sleep on a heating pad, and interfered with my like personal life with my husband and like all the things. And you don't realize how much of an impact this stress and this burnout can have on your physical body. Forget, your mental health, but just your physical body. And that was kind of the first time I realized in April of 24 what this was doing to me. And as a BRCA previver, like that's not acceptable for me, because that level of stress down the road, I know is literally going to give me a guaranteed cancer diagnosis. And yeah, we're not martyrs. And so I think understanding that our lives matter and that there's so much more out there for us to be able to tap into with our expertise and our credentials, and just like more than that, right? Like our mission in life. And I think a lot of the people in our community, right, like come from the lifestyle medicine world, and we are mission driven people. And so, I remember the first time when I put my media kit together in those first 6 months of the program, and my media reach was like 40 million or something, and I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. I thought that was so amazing. And
It
here
is.
I but like
But
here
yeah.
I am but like here I am like almost 2 years later, and that number is like close to a billion people, right? Like that is like that's the kind of thing you hear that as a doctor especially like sets your heart on fire. Like this is soul work, right? It's like that messaging about lifestyle and mindset as medicine going into these huge outlets. And I'm not even talking about social media. Like I don't have a crazy following on social media. I'm talking about like HuffPost and Eating Well and Time Magazine and like all of these huge outlets that you've helped me get featured in. And now I've developed these relationships with these journalists. Like this week, like three journalists slid into my inbox asking me for quotes. So now it's just like kind of like a well-oiled machine. Like they love me, I love them, and I'm reliable. Like you always say, be reliable, right? And so now I'm just kind of constantly being in the media because of the relationships I've built. But more importantly than that, right? Like beyond the money and beyond the kind of like relationships, it's the impact piece. And I think as healthcare professionals, especially as doctors, that's the part that's like, okay, yes, like this is going to be my legacy. And now through media work, it's like you can expand so much beyond your local community, which is still important, right? But like so much more than beyond that one-to-one patient interaction. And now you can touch the lives of millions of people. And that's like a ripple effect that you're probably never going to see, but that's you, right? Like that's magic. And oh my God, Amy, I'm going to keep talking. So just
No,
cut me
I
off.
just that made me think of like I have so many thoughts, and I feel like I can like literally visualize my thoughts being like, should I ask Simran this, or should I go in this direction or this direction? But it's like in this day and age of media, like we're in a very cool and different place than we were a few years ago of whatever you put out there, it's not like it's a one and done where the article gets published and that's it. We have syndication where even if you do an interview for a smaller outlet, sometimes it gets syndicated in MSN and Yahoo, which have a huge reach. But then even cooler is like I have articles that I was interviewed for like 5 years ago, and they get republished every 6 to 12 months. And they're just, it's like they're out there perpetually. And you're just, you're like continuously touching, like you said, millions and millions of people's lives.
And you also don't realize, and the first time this happened, now it's happened a few times, so now it's just fun. But you did, I think I shared this with you a few weeks ago, had a PR agent reach out and she was like, "Oh, I saw that you were quoted in this editorial talking about immunity." And I was like, yeah. And then she was like, oh, I represent these immunity shots. And we'd love to send you some shots. And I was, and she was like, have you tried all the flavors? And then I like went on the website and there was like, we usually only get the one original ginger shot or whatever. And there were so many more. So I was like, oh my God, I'll try them all, like send them my way. But then I also use that as an opportunity to be like, and yes, yes, I was in that editorial, but also, I love working with like-minded brands to kind of create that ripple effect together. And so then she was like, yeah, we would love, like, we're currently like mapping out our partnerships for 2026. And as soon as I have some clarity, like, I'd love to jump on a call. And that was something that I feel like, again, it was like many, many months ago where I like, answered the questions, a few questions that a journalist sent me. I don't even remember which article that was in or anything. But beyond all of that, so if this turns into a fruitful partnership, awesome. But beyond that, it was like this giant box showed up at our doorstep, and my husband like opens it, and he was so happy. Like, okay, we're in that era of parenting right now where like we don't drink alcohol anymore, but we do love our immunity shots. Like
I love that.
that's the season of life we're in, right? And my husband loves these immunity shots. Like he loves the ginger shots. And so he opens his box thinking like I bought him like, 50 shots. Like, and he was so happy. And I was like, I didn't buy these. Like I was sent these like as a gift. And he was just like, it was like full circle moment because I remember in January of 2024, like my husband and I are totally different people. I'm like constantly learning, ever evolving, always in a course or certification or something, something, something. And my husband's just like, nope, I'm good. Like exactly where I am. Just gonna keep cruising, doing what I'm doing. And he gave me such a hard time about Master of the Media, like such a hard time. He was like, absolutely not. Like, you're a doctor. Like, why, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, so fast forward to all of this. He's like, oh my God, like, Master of the Media was the best thing ever. And now he, like, creeps into my Tuesday afternoon calls because sometimes I take him in the car and he's, like, listening. And he's like, this is so awesome. Can I come in your office and listen? And I'm like, okay, let's go back, sir. I'm like, no, I don't do that to him, but, like, I'm like, just laugh in my head. Like, remember 2024 when I wanted to do this?
I love that so much. Oh my gosh. And I think it's so funny, like side note about the shots, because my non-alcoholic treat is like fancy water, like from different places in Europe. Like I'm it's a whole thing. Um, but tell us, like, okay, I have two. I'm gonna let you choose which direction to go in because we'll do both. But I want to know what amount of money have you earned in brand partnerships? And I also want to know how this, gosh, like, you know, spending your time, in this different way, how that's affected your family life.
Gosh. Okay. I don't know, but because I haven't done my taxes yet, for 2025. But I want to say my income is probably from brands alone was probably close to 27,000 last year.
It's a lot.
And which is a lot, considering I don't work in the summer except join the coaching calls, but like I do nothing in the summer because my kids are off all summer and they finally are old enough to realize that they don't actually have to do camp. And so last summer we tried something where they didn't really go to camp. This summer they are definitely going to camp though because it did not work out well for me. So we're doing a combination of camp and half day camp. But anyways, my point is like last year was very like I the way I like to think about this season of my life. And again, I have a very, very extreme perspective on life because I spent 10 years of my life sitting and talking to dying people, and the regrets are all the same. They're all the same. And one of the biggest regrets is always, I wish I spent more time with the people I loved, and I wish I spent more time just slowing down when my kids were little. And so for me, it's like front and center, right? So the way I like to think about my business and what I'm building now in my post kind of hospital era is, there's two speeds, right? There's like the rabbit, and it's like the story, the rabbit and the turtle, right? Tortoise. And in this season, everything in life is seasons, right? So in this season of my life, I am like 100% hands-on, like kids, right? Like my kids,
And
like I
puppy.
told, and puppy. Oh my God, yeah, we just got a puppy. But I told you, right? That my kids have not been in school since February 13th because they just had a winter break.
And
And I
it's what, like
honestly,
it's February 24th.
24th. Yeah. So I have done very little over the past several days. And that's okay because the way I look at what I'm building right now is, I am the rabbit in motherhood right now, like in that season of my life. Like it's all about my kids, and I pivot and I adapt as I need to with the sick kid or vacations or breaks or all the fun activities that we're doing. And then I'm kind of the tortoise in my business and my mission and what I'm building. It's like in the background, it's slowly building. And I know in the next like 6 to 7 years, like when my kids are much more independent and they don't need me and they don't think I'm as cool anymore and they don't want me for everything like they do right now, the roles will flip, right? So I'll be kind of that steady force, the tortoise in their life there when they need me, but I'll be able to be the rabbit in my business and really just like scale and take off from that foundation I've built over the last several years. And even now, it's just like I am doing a lot, and I feel like opportunities are opening left, right, and center. Where, I mean, you've heard me speak in the community. It's just like sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe I need to say no more because it's a lot and it can be very exciting and overwhelming at the same time. So it's definitely about being intentional.
And that's the cool part.
Um,
You get to actually choose what matters most to you. And, like for me, I didn't post on my nutrition Instagram account, which has 20,000 followers. Like I literally ignored it for like 2 or 3 years. And now like Annabelle's 7.5 months. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm back to just actually doing it just for the joy. And like, and anyway, my point is like, you just kind of, it ebbs and flows.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, for me, a big piece of that is like the income I made last year was not just about the income, but it was about the time I bought back and how I've spent that time. Our dog got sick in September, and Toomey was 10 years old, and he was part every big milestone over the last 10 years, from, taking care of dying patients, coming home and crying to him, to recovering from my surgeries. Like he was there, pregnancy, motherhood, everything. He was there. And so, the past 18 months, like were really, or from September, last September, 18 months, like one day a week was literally just dedicated to taking him to his therapy and doing all the things. And then he finally, transitioned, passed away in September. And I didn't do anything for like a month. And that's okay, right? Like I think a lot of times we just rush from one thing to the other without fully ever giving ourselves the time and space to process what's actually happening in our lives. And I think if we're able to build something where we have, and of course I'm privileged. I'm saying this from a place of privilege. I mean, because I have a husband who works full time, and um, but my 10 years working in the hospital, to be honest, was the equivalent of a 50-year career in medicine. I saw so much and did so much for other people. But the point is that now I'm building something where um, year on year, my income has been increasing since I started my business in 2023. Um, but the time that I've gotten back is the first time in my life from when I was 18, when I first started this journey in medicine, to, 2024, when I left the hospital. these past 2 years is the first time in my life where I've actually been able to dictate how I'm spending every moment and every day of my life, which honestly is a breath of fresh air. Because I haven't had that control. And so to just be able to have that time back and say, I'm still making an impact and I'm, you know, making money and it's growing is just, it's like the biggest gift, right?
Also think about like you're setting an incredible example for your kids of
Yeah.
it's not one or the other. Like you can be a parent, you can have a business, you can make an impact.
Oh, let's not get this wrong. My kids think my husband is a doctor. They don't think I'm a doctor because Papa goes to the hospital, so he's a doctor. He wears scrubs. But you on the other hand, you don't go to the hospital, so you're not a doctor. Because when they were, of course, I went to the hospital, but they were very little, so they don't remember. So at least of the last 3 years, they remember me being home and I go on my computer in my office, but like that's not working. And so I literally like pulled out all of my licenses and certificates the other day. It's like I actually made an Instagram reel about this when your 8-year-old thinks you're not a doctor anymore, and I like pulled out like my 20 certificates. It's like so, anyways, I forgot the second question you asked me, but um,
Yeah, the two questions were just income and then impact on your family.
yeah, so I guess I answered both.
Yeah, you did. Oh my gosh. This
But
is
I think on a finishing note, it's like one of the things, that I came to you with actually after my 6 initial months in the program was, hey, have you considered like opening this to doctors? And because of course at the beginning when I was there it was mostly RDs, and that was your primary niche, of course, because you're an RD, so that makes a lot of sense. But when I kind of started talking to you about like this whole world of lifestyle medicine, and the lifestyle medicine world is not just physicians, it's RDs, it's like physical therapists, it's trainers, it's like all sorts of people, and allied health professionals. And when we were at ACLM this past fall, I talked to so many of the ACLM, my colleagues there, a lot of them physicians, and, they kind of kept asking the same questions. And so I found myself really thinking and saying the same things to all of them. And it was like, why does this matter? Like, why does media work matter? Um, and the same kind of themes kept coming up. And I think it's so important, especially us physicians, to understand this. Being married to a Gen X, I'm millennial, he's Gen X. And so it's funny because we have this conversation all the time, and it was like you have to change with the times. Like you can't stay stuck where you were, right? And like I've slowly dragged my husband to understand that like we're living in a digital world. Whether you like it or not, we are. And so it's important to learn how to use technology so that it doesn't use you, and learn how to leverage it so that you can, continue to make impact, but then you can create streams of income, but then you can buy back your time, like all of this. And if you don't, then honestly, you're gonna get left behind. And that's just the reality of the situation, right? And then there's the other piece of it is it's like, okay, well, how is technology using me? Well, it is, because guess where most of our patients are getting their information now, right? The latest statistic I saw was half of the population out there now, at least in the US, is getting most of their medical knowledge and health information on TikTok and social media platforms. And so, how is it using you? Well, because then when they come to see you, you're spending the first 10, 15, 20 minutes of your medical time and visit debunking and de-educating what they're bringing you. And guess what? The average doctor only has 15 or 20 minutes for a follow-up. So now you're running behind, and that spills into the rest of your day and the time ultimately for yourself and with your family. So, yes, it absolutely is using you. And so you really have to like reverse engineer all of this and understand that, yes, we are as healthcare professionals like so passionate about education, but we have to put ourselves out there in these platforms beyond social media even, but in the media, like in these big outlets, like you teach us to combat misinformation and to share credible evidence-based information to help people, right? So And then the last piece like that I touched on earlier was, burnout is at an ultimate high. And I don't know, maybe you can speak to RDs, but for MDs post-pandemic, more doctors are leaving healthcare than ever before, looking for non-clinical roles. And I think, a big part of this is we talked about earlier, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? So investing in a skill set that will teach you how to continue your impact outside of clinical medicine. If you choose to step out or do a hybrid, which is what most of the people in our community are doing, right? So I ended up launching, or I'm in the process of rebranding and relaunching my website, but I'm launching my lifestyle medicine and palliative care telehealth micropractice soon. So like one foot in the door, but maybe more private, or maybe you work at a hospital, maybe, so you can have a hybrid model where you are creating your own personal brand and you are in the media working with brands, but then also doing some clinical work. But what this really does is creates this beautiful synergy where it brings back your love for medicine and practicing medicine on your terms while designing the life you want to live. And it's the antidote to burnout. So I think this has been the most amazing skill set that I have invested in the last 2 years for sure. So thank you. I appreciate you very much as a friend, but also as a coach and just as someone who's taught me so much in terms of like our potential and the possibilities outside of, what we normally would just think of for ourselves in clinical medicine.
Thank you. And I also have to thank you because, like you said before, I feel like you were in a cohort with there were like a few MDs, but that was the first time we really had doctors like start trickling into master the media. And to me, like you said, my world has been dietitians. Like all the people I know in the medical field are dietitians. So that's how master the media organically spread. And then I don't know how many months you've been a master of the media, but you're kind of like, Amy, like, are you like, do you see like how we could actually reach and help these doctors and like nurse practitioners and physicians associates and physical therapists and everything? And you were like that connector of like, I didn't even know about ACLM, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I didn't know it existed. I did, and then she's like, hey, Amy, you should meet these people over at ACLM. Hey, Amy, do you want to exhibit at ACLM? And like, we just like ran with it. That was, it's like, Simran, come, be at the Master of the Media booth at ACLM for days. But I feel like that was a huge wake, like aha moment for me was, oh my gosh, like the impact that we can make. It's just like getting people to know that this world is a possibility, that you can spread so many incredible messages through media, that you can buy back your not or like earn back your time through these brand partnerships, and you can also bring the joy back. I
Yeah.
think that's just one of the greatest gifts. So thank you.
100%. No, it's been so much fun. And like, I've just met so many cool people too. It's when you're in community, I think we live in a world, unfortunately, right now where there is a lot of um horrible things happening. But also the news typically doesn't share all the good things that are happening. And I do believe that there's a lot of good in the world and there are good people and there's, people doing random acts of kindness every day that are amazing. And those things don't get shared publicly in the news because the news typically is like, if it bleeds, it leads, right? Like they share the most horrid things. And that's not to say that we shouldn't be informed about it, and we should, but also it's so important, I think, as as a survival species, like we're not meant to get this much negative information in a single day, like we're I saw the statistic recently and I can't remember it, but we're getting way more than what our nervous system can handle through not just like traditional TV media, but like think about social media and how many hours a day the average person is scrolling and all of that. And so it's more important than ever today, I think, to find a tribe of like-minded people and community and, to stand guard at the entrance of your mind where you're focused on something, right? Because where focus goes, energy flows. And so when you're focused on learning and growing and being with, people at a certain time every week, 4 o'clock on Tuesdays, like I know it's on my schedule,
In
like I'm
50
gonna be
minutes.
there, right? Like, yeah, and I'm there. And so like to have that, I think in today's world is priceless, because it keeps you in the right headspace. It keeps you, growth minded. It keeps you um, finding joy, purpose driven, impact driven, like all the good things that I think we all need more of in this world where it's really, really easy to get sucked into that dark, dark rabbit hole of negativity and all the really horrible things that are happening in the world. So, thank you for creating the community, really. It's such a gift to the world of medicine, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. And it's my favorite hour of the week, honestly. Like,
Speaking of which, it's coming
yes,
up. So,
yeah. So on that note, where can people find you online?
so I'm in the middle of this huge, really fun rebrand. I can't wait for you to see my really new updated
I'm so
media
excited.
page. It's gonna be so amazing. But no, I'm mostly on Instagram. So it's at drsimran.malhotra, and that's kind of my handle on all the socials, but I'm mostly on social media. And then my website is coachsimranmd.com. Soon it'll just be simranmd.com, but yeah, all the
Awesome. We'll
things.
put
So
those in the show notes.
thank
This has
you.
been so incredible. And anyone who's listening who's like, how, you're just wondering, you want to know more about this world of brand partnerships, we are hosting a free masterclass on how to land your first or next paid brand partnership in 30 days. So go to masterthemedia.co/BPS dash masterclass. I'll see you there. Thank you so much, Simran.
Bye.
Bye.